Hey guys, and welcome to the second Gunshot podcast, and we're sat here in Italy with Howard Day of Outside Days. Howard, tell us about yourself.
There's a long story.
Well, what do you do? Let's start with what do you do now?
I'm what they classify, as many of your listeners, I guess it will be on this, would call a sporting agent.
Which does?
We basically buy and sell fishing, shooting and stalking in the UK, and obviously being sat here in Italy, elsewhere in the world.
How long have you done that for?
I think we're coming up, this will be our 21st season now. The earth's moving for me as well.
Your 21st season?
21st season, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, been a long time, been some good times, been some not so good times.
And what did you do beforehand?
My background's really in fish.
Okay.
I have a degree, a master's degree in fisheries management, fish farming, cleaning people's ponds, all sorts of...
Oh wow, so you're more of a fisherman than a shooter, or do you count you're...
Now, I'm asked that quite a lot as to which I prefer, and I haven't really got an answer. Background was in fish, my scientific training's in fish and fisheries. Shooting is something I have done as a hobby, as a pastime since, well, my best friend at nursery school, so since the age of 3, my best friend was a gamekeeper's son. So I was brought up, spent as much time around his house probably as I did at home. Being brought up around shooting dogs, pheasants, partridge, all sorts. So it's sort of in my blood from both sides.
Oh, awesome. But if you were to pick one now, just to put it on the table, not right this moment, but this year? Actually, we'll cut right to the chase. A real big important question we should have asked later on, but we'll ask now. What is your dream shoot, personally, that you haven't done yet, having that you have covered many, or one that you have done already?
Oh. There's always,
including fishing, obviously.
Yeah, there's always got to be a want-to-do list. When you lose a want-to-do list, then I think you've lost the will to live.
Yeah, realistically.
Mongolia is one we're looking at quite closely at the moment. It's grown over the last few years as a destination for fishing on taimen, which is one of the world's largest trout.
Yeah.
Go in excess of 100 pounds in fairly small streams.
Which is a serious fish, isn't it?
Seriously big fish.
You take big tackle for that?
The standing joke is the first Western European that was out there fishing for it was there with his salmon rod, casting his flies. And all of a sudden the Mongolian tribesman pulled up beside him on his little pony and looked at him and pulled out his rifle. And the fisherman standing there feeling a bit nervous. He looks around, the Mongolian turns around and shoots what I guess would be a prairie dog. Picks it up, puts it on a hook that looks more like a small boat anchor, throws it in the river, at which point the taimen comes up, takes the prairie dog.
Oh, wow.
I think that's a bit of a joke, but no, they fish with extremely big flies. But really, more to the point is, I mean, so some people now know Mongolia as a destination for fishing.
Yeah.
Some people will know it for some of the antelope type species out there, the ibex and things. Really interests me, and I've heard a lot about, but still working on going out there, as they have large numbers of wild grey or Hungarian partridge, as they would call them, what the English sportsmen would know as a grey partridge.
English partridge.
I don't think you can really call them English partridge if they're native in Mongolia.
Mongolian partridge.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just a lot of what they would classify as prairie birds out there. It's very much an untouched resource. I think that would be very interesting to go out there and see exactly what's there.
More for the wider sort of pony yurt experience.
Yeah, I mean,
throat music.
The whole thing. And I mean, I'm very
Eagles,
lucky that I get to go to lots of wonderful places around the world and in the UK.
And where has your favourite been?
Around the world?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sitting here at Torriccio on the wild boar trip with you in Italy.
It's really hard.
I've really got to say it's got to be Italy.
It's really hard to try and top this from a luxury hunting experience perspective, right?
It's a wonderful place to come to. I mean, this is your second time here. First time, not so good on the boar front.
But we're still an exceptional
great on the wine and the food front.
Oh, yes.
This time, well, I don't know whether this is coming out before the video or after the video, so I won't say too much of a spoiler.
Oh no, this will come out after.
Okay, well in that case, as people would by now know, a very successful boar trip.
Absolutely awesome.
It's hard to beat, but I actually quite like the wild as well. The more remote locations.
The hard yards sort of
stuff.
Yeah,
I mean it's very lucky, fish and shot in many places in the UK and around the world. And it's very easy to get a little blasé about some of them, if you're honest.
That must be a really hard issue to deal with.
No, I mean, but you do start to take some of the marvellous places you go for granted.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't.
No.
Because it is such an amazing experience every time you go out in the field. And you're always seeing, and whether you're going back on a pheasant shoot in Hampshire that you've been to 100 times before, there's always something different goes on.
It's still good sport. People travel from around the world to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
It is valued, but in England we seem to sort of we hold in high regard wilderness hunts because it's something that we generally can't do.
It's different, yeah. And it's, I mean, there's some. Yeah, I mean, we were up fishing right up in the Arctic Circle in Sweden a couple of years ago for trout up in the Arctic Circle. That was amazing. I mean, you've got a flight to Stockholm and then off to Skellefteå, and then you do 2 hours in a car, followed by 40 minutes in a boat, followed by 10 minutes in a helicopter to get to base camp. And then each day you walk out for 3 or 4 hours in the morning or 2 hours in the morning before you start to fish your way back.
Untouched virgin.
Proper amazing Arctic Circle with the Sami and the reindeer herders and everything else up there.
Was it worth it?
It was amazing. I'd go back tomorrow. Yeah. The fishing was, we were a little bit late in the season. The positive side was the mosquitoes, or the midges had died down. The fishing wasn't as good as it had been earlier in the year. We still caught plenty of good fish. And it's a hell of an experience. Shooting wise, some of the quail shooting we do in Croatia. I mean, everyone thinks of Croatia as this wonderful new
holiday destination,
or relatively new holiday destination.
Great place to film Game of Thrones as well.
A great place to film Game of Thrones, yeah. Great place to go quail shooting.
Yeah.
Go inland.
How's that done? Walked up? Or?
It's over pointing dogs.
Nice.
Now the quail they're shooting there are migratory quail, so they're migrating from northern Europe down to northern Africa. So it's a great hunt. We start 1st of August through till the end of September. It is migratory. You never know what you're going to find. The birds migrate at night. So you go out in the field in the morning.
And it's a surprise.
And you can go out there and you can find 2 or you can find 102.
Wow.
And you have no idea what you're going to find. And you'll go to the same field the next day and you still don't know what you're going to find because there may have been birds coming overnight or they may not have done.
And that's done in quite an English style, I take it, with the pointing dog?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, what they tend to do is they'll go out with the pointing dogs first. You'll bust up the coveys, so they're big numbers. And these quail are quite small. I mean, I think someone described them as bumblebees on steroids.
Nice.
So they literally starburst.
Hug the floor, or they get up a bit?
Some will hug the floor and just drop in short. Some will go up very high. Some will go back behind you. I mean, they'll go all over the place. And then once they bust the coveys up, we'll then spend some time
sneak in on them and
going around the covers a little bit. Yeah. And yeah, you take a few, but you don't take too many. It is a sustainable harvest you're looking for. You're not looking to try and get every quail there. So you'll go and you'll have a flush here and a flush there, shoot a few, and then move on to another bit of ground or another part of the same field.
It's nice to satisfy your hunting urge and move on.
Good tasting bird.
Really?
Yeah, very similar to partridge, but smaller. So I mean,
you just need a few more of them.
You need a few more of them. And just great fun. But you are up in the mountains in Croatia that no one ever goes to. No tourists ever go to.
So you get that privilege.
So you're seeing very different things. I mean, the first time we went out there was probably 10 years ago now. And I sat and watched the Croatian, Bosnian, Serbian troubles going on telly, and it seems very distant. We only go out there, 3.5 hour flight, couple of hours driving up in the mountains. Oh, we can't shoot that area today because there's still a lot of uncleared landmines in that field.
Well, if people are after high risk sport,
yeah. Well, yeah, that's taking them
adrenaline
extreme, perhaps. But yeah, you've got buildings that covered in machine gun bullets on the front of them. You suddenly realise quite how close all that was. And the basic food, I mean, is basically spit roast lamb. Is what you eat for the whole time you're there. Once you get inland,
it's a nice treat.
It's very nice.
And quail if you're lucky.
And quail if you can
shoot
them.
straight.
But I mean, it's almost like winding the time back. I mean, it's like going back in history a little bit when you get up there. Whereas modern seaside Croatia is very modern.
Very Mediterranean.
Yeah,
very modern.
Very modern as well. So you go to different places, see different things, and you get to go to places that you'd never get to or go to if you weren't for the fishing, the shooting, or the stalking.
Cool. Move on slightly before we get to our sort of main subject. How do you deal? I presume you've seen an array of sportsmen in terms of ability, character.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with somebody who just can't shoot, just can't fish?
With a great deal of patience, I think probably be the best line. It depends what they've purchased, what they're buying. If they're bird shooting, I mean, no, let's wind that back. Someone that is safe and good company will be welcome anywhere, always.
Yeah.
And that's very much a worldwide thing. That's not just the UK.
And the good company part, I suppose, is an aspect of them not throwing a hissy fit because of their lack of ability.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And it's also a case of, particularly with the foreign trips, not so much, I mean, if you're spending a day with a member of a team, in a gun in a line,
Yeah.
who you're struggling to get on with, it's not too bad.
You've got 7 other blokes you can
You've
talk
got 7
to.
other blokes. If you've got a week with him in a lodge in Sweden, it can get quite grating. So, I mean, people need to look at themselves a little bit sometimes, but I mean, to be honest with you, most sportsmen get on just fine. So there's a common interest. If they can't fish or shoot,
You just have to dial it back, I suppose.
well, I mean, we always
It's a training trip.
With rifles. We always put a new client on a range before we go out hunting. Part of that is to familiarise them with the rifle, and part of that is, but I mean, if we're road stalking in England, for example, we'll put them on a range. They're shooting a paper target at 100 yards. By looking at how they shoot it and where they're grouping or hitting, you say, okay, well, 100 yards, I'll take a shot. Or you look at it and you say, okay, we're going to have to get into 50 yards before I let him take the shot. So there's that side to it.
In terms of ability there, you know, what is the standard ability? You see people shoot in real life, not just, you know, keyboard warriors saying, I can shoot this and I can shoot that. What is the standard ability of a shooter from your experience?
To be honest with you, I don't care. In the nicest possible way, what I need to see is we will draw a 3-inch diameter circle.
Size of a heart?
The size of a heart, which is a fraction of the size of a kill zone, on a piece of paper. If you can hit that, I'm not looking for you to cloverleaf your bullets. Very impressive if you can. Great, lovely, and all the rest of it.
Use your X-ray vision.
The reality is a kill shot is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So if you can get inside my 3-inch circle with 100 yards off a bench rest, then I will consider taking you stalking. Seeing how you've done that will dictate where we've got to get to before I let you take the shot.
People fail?
Rarely.
Good.
With modern tech, with modern guns, rifles, and everything else, sometimes you have to say to someone, right, okay, just stop a minute,
Take a breather,
put the rifle down, let's walk back, think about what we're doing, talk it through, go forward and do it again. Now, one of my real bête noirs, if you like, I don't mind someone coming to me. In fact, I like it when someone comes to me and says, I know nothing. I'm a novice, I've never done it before, I've only been out once, whatever it may be. That's fine. That's no problem. We're very happy to teach. Everyone has to start somewhere. And yeah, great. It's good for the industry, it's good for me as a business, it's good for you as a shop.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
What I really, really object to is the people that come and they're desperate to tell you how much they've done. I'm around every day.
And you might get choked by their cape.
Yeah. As soon as you put them on a range or in front of an animal, you can see how much someone's done.
Yeah.
So all the stories they've told you about what they've done or how many animals or how often they go stalking, all the rest of it, you look at them and just think, why did you say that to me?
You're not familiar with this, you're
not
getting buck fever, and we're not even seeing an animal yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, if I go, I mean, and occasionally I'll go stalking somewhere or go shooting somewhere, I like to play down what I do for a job. I love to learn from other guides.
Yeah.
And if you say,
you can always learn something.
Oh, every day I go out, I'm learning something from what I'm seeing. When you go out with another guide, you're learning loads of stuff.
Always, especially if it's on their ground as well. You can't go to someone else's ground and go, this is how it works on my bit.
Yeah, different animal, different cultures, different mentalities, different everything. You just say, keep quiet and just show me how to do it, please.
Yeah. And I'll perform when you ask me to.
Hopefully. I'll do what you tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is the great joy of going out with a professional guide of some description, whether it's fishing, shooting, stalking, I'm sure golf or skiing or anything else is exactly the same.
Yeah. You get there's a lesson included in the price if you like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're paying for access onto the ground, but you're also paying for 10, 20, 30, 40 years of experience from someone and what you can learn from that. And that, I think, is
priceless.
Is the really exciting thing.
Yeah.
It's the sexy bit about stalking for me, is seeing other people and seeing what they know and learning their little tricks. And whether it's, I mean, I've got a classic, I've got a Spanish guide who dries his flies with a really bizarre way of doing it that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, that's so simple and so easy, I'll do that. up to someone who's got a completely different rifle setup or vision optics that you've never seen before. And you think, oh, I've sort of seen that advertised and I wouldn't buy it. And you actually see it in practice and it's like, oh, actually.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times
works.
like that when you go, I don't like that, and then you actually get behind it and go,
actually,
that's really sweet.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so to me, if I was going to give a piece of advice on this podcast, would be when you go to a professional guide, be honest.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done much, say so.
And I like your idea of playing it down a little bit so that you can glean as much information as possible.
No good professional guide is going to judge you badly because you're not an expert. That's why you're going to a guide.
Yeah.
It's to get access to ground and to learn something.
Yeah.
And I always know, I mean, we were talking earlier off camera when you were saying about people that come in the shop and you can judge. I always know when we're at a trade show or whether we are got clients turn up for the first time, if they spend the first half hour telling me what they've done, you always know probably you've got to listen to it all with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, you can sort of take half of it and throw it in the bin. Yeah.
At least.
No, we get it a lot in the shop. You know, you get someone coming, I own this gun, that gun, this gun and that gun. You go, great. I have got 400 there, minimum.
I'm not very impressed.
And I am kind of impressed, but a conversation about the guns, that's different. Like if someone said to you, I had this great trip in South Africa, have you ever done this and that? And you could actually converse.
Yeah.
It's very different to them, I suppose, monologuing at you.
Yeah.
It must be a bit weird.
And it's, all of us have different levels of ability.
Yeah.
There are people that do everything. I think, again, you or Sasha or someone was asking me how I would class myself. And I'm sort of a reasonable all-rounder, fishing, shooting, stalking. I'm not, I wouldn't, and I never claim to put myself up as a total expert in any one particular field.
No, you're a fair hand at most of them though. Luckily.
I can hold my end up in most company at most of them, so I'm a good generalist.
Yeah, that's a good way to be though, isn't it?
But if you take fishing or shooting, I can point to a lot of people who in any one discipline
unbelievable.
are much better than I am, but that's all they do. Whereas I spend my time...
Give a rifleman a shotgun and say, do you want to come out game shooting? And it might be a mild embarrassment, but you know, I can still hold my own with a rifle enough.
Yeah. I mean, I can go out stalking and know I can make the shot.
Yes.
If it's doable, mainly.
Yeah, something like that. We'll talk also briefly about equipment before we get onto the main subject. Equipment-wise, you obviously get access to a huge amount of equipment, probably on a much more practical basis than I do, in stalking and shooting and game shooting and hunting scenarios.
Yeah.
What do you rate? What have you seen fail? What is good and what is not good in the books of Howard Day?
I think it goes back to the classic line, the biggest problem in most rifle shooting is the nut behind the bolt.
Yep.
Most modern rifles that I have come across, unless there is a mechanical issue with them, can shoot straighter than most people.
100%.
So as far as the actual rifle to go for, as client rifles I work with Hauer 1500s.
Yeah,
I've got one in 243, one in 308 depending on what we're shooting.
Reliable, accurate.
Not pretty.
Hardcore.
But very, very reliable. More accurate than needs to be.
Yep.
And they're great work tools.
Yeah.
They're not beautiful. They're not pretty.
No, but when you're giving it to somebody who potentially might not be experienced and might bring it up the ladder of the high seat or something.
It's a tool for a job.
Yeah.
And it does the job very well.
Built to work, not for show.
Optics, like most people, I mean, I do generally believe that you need to spend as much as you can on the optics, within reason.
Yeah.
Good optics will give you, as everyone says, I mean, if you go and buy a Swarovski as opposed to a Bushnell or something.
Bushnell makes some very high quality.
Okay, well, I mean,
the basic ones are pretty crap.
I mean, if you go and buy a top end Swarovski as opposed to a bottom end Bushnell,
yes,
you will get in broad daylight. Being my point here, I'm trying to get to in broad daylight as we are now. Actually, it probably wouldn't make any difference.
Only when looking at it. But if you put a deer out in front of you at 100 yards and said shoot
on
it
the
with this
success
or that,
rate,
you'd go okay.
On the success rate, it wouldn't make any difference.
No.
When you get to low light conditions,
yeah,
particularly out here in Italy, where we're shooting the boar at what we would consider at home to be too dark, but we're still shooting without any.
In moonlight, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, or just very much knocking, real last knockings. The quality of scope comes in.
It
So
really
I think
does.
brand-wise, Ooh, it's a difficult one. Miopters, great scope.
Yeah.
Swarovski, obviously everyone knows them. Carl's make a good one. Schmidt and Bender.
I think if you're buying in that top echelon,
Yeah.
it is very much a what you require. One's going to be nicer colour to one person than the other. One's going to be sharper in different ways. One's going to have slightly different definitions in different ways, and it is a personal matrix of needs over a scope.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I would say rifle you can always get away with as cheap as you want.
Yeah. Well.
Scope, buy a decent one.
Yeah.
I think that's fairly common practice really these days.
Yeah,
What I
you'd be
particularly
surprised. I
like
think
is a different
people are
story.
changing slightly there.
Okay.
We noticed in the market is people are suddenly investing more in the initial purchase of the rifle rather than the optic, which I've never really understood. But as long as people are buying rifles and enjoying themselves, I suppose it doesn't matter.
I guess a lot of people work on the principle that you can buy a really nice rifle, but you haven't got the budget to then spread to a really nice scope as well, and we put a nice scope on it later.
And you don't need to put variation in for a scope.
Whereas no one wants to say, I'm going to have a really nice scope, but the rifle doesn't actually. So I mean, I sort of get that,
Yeah,
but it's almost backwards. It's a bit like fly rods. I was having a chat with Mark, who's out on this trip with us earlier today. He was asking about fly rods. I said, actually, the really expensive fly rods are very good, and it's the same as shotguns. I've got to say, a really good shotgun or fly rod will help you shoot or cast better. If you're a really good shot or a good fisherman, you don't need that.
No, but if you then do put the two together, that's the ultimate package.
So, but it almost becomes inverted, because if you're a beginner, that you need all the help you can get. But that's when you don't go and spend it, because you don't know how much of it you're going to do or what you're going to get into. So I mean, that one's a tricky one. I've got to say, with guns, the problem I think with guns is, shotguns in particular, is that we're all told, well, shoot the gun that suits you, shoot the gun you like. When you're new to shooting, you don't know what you like. You've been shooting a long time, I've been shooting a long time. You pick up a gun, and, oh, that feels nice, that's comfortable, that fits me well, I like the way that feels, that's balanced or whatever. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
If you're novice, they all feel weird.
Yeah, or you pick one up that feels good, but by the time you actually learn to shoot and build a style, it no longer feels good.
So, I mean, my advice would be to anyone buying kit is go to someone like yourself. Other gun shops do exist.
They do, and they are also great.
There's some really good ones out there.
there are
I'm
some
not
very
so good, it's
good
like any business. But no, you go to the gun shop, listen to what you're told. You're going to have a budget in mind when you walk in. Most people do.
Yeah.
And then the only thing you've got to consider is, I mean, I'm always asked, what shall I buy, what shall I buy? I've got to say, I advise Beretta quite regularly for first gun, for the sheer fact that if you don't like it, you'll get the same money back when you sell it.
Yeah. It's a very cheap short-term investment, if you like. Yeah.
Get something like that. If you then want to go and get something else better, different, whatever in the future, it's easy, because you can take your gun back, you'll get nearly what you paid for it.
Yeah. So when you decide what you actually like,
Once
cost you a couple hundred quid to own a very nice gun.
Bit better. Yeah.
Without buying crap.
So I mean, that's my only reason. I mean, personally, if I was going to go out and buy a gun, it depends what price range we're talking about. I love the Resini round body.
Yeah, very nice guns.
Very, very sweet, pretty little guns to handle. Rifle-wise, I love the Merkel K3.
Yeah. Both really sweet, refined guns, which is kind of ironic because you're a very big man.
Yeah. But dainty, and I mean, I shoot 28 bore with shotgun mainly. So I'm quite into the little guns.
Yeah.
African stuff. I love the Mini 10. The 10 antelope species below 18 inches.
See,
you can keep your big kudu and your everything else for me. I want the little ones.
I was going to say, they're bastard hard to get into a lot of the time as well. A lot of them are significantly harder to get into.
And where so much of Africa is behind the wire, it's done well, and it's 10,000 acres. None of the Mini 10 are. They just walk through the wire. They're so small. Yeah. So that to me,
completely, even on a high fence area, they're not in.
No, I mean they come and go as they please. So I mean, I guess that's probably exposure to the more run-of-the-mill stuff across the board in multiple countries.
Once you've seen one kudu, you've seen them all. Eh? Yeah. And it's just very expensive if you want a really big one.
Yeah. Whereas going and stalking steenbuck on someone's farm out there as opposed to a game ranch, to me, is great fun.
So the wilder the better for you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, probably. I mean, very cliche, but in the UK, I love pigeon shooting.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best day sport you can get.
When it goes right. Or one of the most frustrating when it doesn't.
Yeah, that's for certain. Game-wise, woodcock and snipe, I know politically sometimes a question on them. Don't shoot a lot these days, numbers-wise or days-wise even, to be honest with you. We're too busy hosting in the season. But I would rather traipse all day and go and shoot a few wild birds than go on some of the pheasant drives. But that's when you stand, I mean, we sell, what do we do? I think last year, about 160 days we sold as a company in the UK.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
I probably did 120 of them. On a day off,
do you want to be...
a bit of a busman's holiday if you're not careful. But again, everyone, I mean, that's the other question I'm probably going to ask me later, so I'm going to preempt it now. Which is where would your favourite place to shoot be? Actually, I would rather have a really bad or mediocre day shooting with the right team of people.
Very much so.
Than the most amazing day shooting with a bunch of people I didn't know or didn't particularly like. So I mean, to me, if I'm going shooting, it is very much a social affair.
It is a company-based sport.
And it is who I'm with every time.
Yeah, well, I think that's the right way it should be. I think when people get into it, and there is still a huge bunch of people who are just there for purely the hunting aspect, but life's too short for that. You don't go around and tell everyone. It's the same cape throwers who are going to choke you with, I've done this and I've done that, who went on the day and the other 7 people didn't like them, and they then told everyone, I shot brilliantly on that drive, and it's that person.
We've all seen it, and there's nothing wrong with the shooting being the main reason for going. I mean, that's why everyone starts.
Yeah.
You don't start from a social point of view. I think, I mean, with fishing, there's the several stages of fisherman's life, and I mean, first of all, it's catch one, then it's catch lots, then it's catch the biggest, then it's catch the rarest, and then it's go back to catch one again. And it's sort of almost that evolution, if you like, as you go through and you get experience, you see different things, that what you're after and what excites you.
What it means to you.
What it means to you changes and evolves. And that's fine, because everyone can be on different stages of that life.
Yeah, I think we did a video on gun snobs recently, essentially saying that it doesn't matter what you like, as long as you don't force it upon other people and tell everyone else someone's wrong for being in a different place to you. Yeah. Life is too short for that.
And wouldn't it be boring if we were all the same?
It really would. Unless everyone was like me. This planet would be amazing.
It's going to be really boring, John.
We talk about optics all the time.
Yes, we could really upset some gun shop owners by telling them what they thought was wrong.
Oh, yeah, lose that in translation once again. So we're going to move on to the main point now.
Let's move on quickly, yeah.
You've been involved in shooting a significant amount longer than I am, because you're old. And
easy tiger.
21 years as a professional sporting agent, from the age of 3 involved in shooting. How has it changed, and then where is it going? And we're talking specifically here about pheasant shooting and deer stalking, homegrown sports.
Right, I mean, 2 very different.
Indeed. We'll start with pheasant
changes.
shooting.
Let's talk about driven bird shooting in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been involved in driven bird shooting in some form or other for nearly half a century, which is really quite scary. Yeah, I am old. How's it changed? I guess when I was, and again, when you're involved in it as a kid, beating on shoots and what have you, you don't really understand what's going on around you. You get the principle of releasing the birds. I was involved in releasing birds and feeding. A friend's father's a gamekeeper, and beating and picking up and all the rest of it. But the finances and the business side of it, which is really what has been the big change in game shooting, you don't really get. But looking back through sort of my more commercial and older experience in it, basically, I always say to my clients who moan about my prices, and it's not just an excuse about my prices, shooting has never actually been cheaper in the real world than now.
Not by proportion to what people earn on
or
average.
more accessible. If you went back 47 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever it was, to actually go and buy a day's shooting was quite a hard thing to do.
It was a significant amount more private, I guess, at
because
the time.
it was either syndicate or private. So to actually be able to go and buy a day's shooting on what we would classify now as a commercial shoot was unusual. And the old saying used to be, was it, up goes £15, bang goes 10p, down comes a pound. Well, in that there tells you everything you need to know about what's changed in driven shooting.
Yeah.
Because it's up goes £40, so that has gone up by 2.5, 3-fold.
Yeah.
Yep, in that time scale.
Which, to be fair,
Which compared to a pint of beer or a house or a car
house being the main
is
one.
fraction of what anything else has done on inflation.
Yep.
Then goes 10p a cartridge.
Stayed pretty much the same.
Hasn't actually changed that much. Down comes a pound. Well, now it's down comes nothing or minus if you're not careful. So I think that perhaps in that little line there tells you everything you need to know about what's happened in shooting. Shooting's become more available. The price has gone up, but not in line with inflation. And it's supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I don't know where this is going out, but obviously we're now selling hard for the 2019-2020 season. I have never known a demand and shoot selling out as quick as they have done this year, despite all the financial uncertainties around us.
So is that top end days or low end days, or is it just across the board?
Always a bit dubious about the top end, low end line, because I mean, what does
Everybody
one
has
call as top end, low
very
end? But
different
in answer
perspective.
to your question, it's across the board. It's everything from walk up days to 400 bird days.
Yeah.
And you talk to a lot of the shoots, and they are sold out by beginning of March, which is unusual.
Which is crazy, really.
Whether that is a sign of there'll be more shooting sold this year, or whether that's a sign of people are buying earlier, remains to be seen as the year goes on. But those that haven't bought already will be getting disappointed, basically. But anyway, yeah, so going back to, I mean, obviously the biggest thing, and it's very much in everyone's mind at the moment, is what happens with the shot game at the end of it.
Yeah.
And that is several series of podcasts all by itself.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get the BGA down for that one. We'll sit around a table and have
Yeah, I mean,
conversations.
BGA, I admire what they're doing.
BGA is the British Game Alliance. They are a business solely made to promote the eating of wild game.
Yeah. Admire what they're doing, would question some of it.
Yeah.
But having said that, they're doing something.
Which is better than a huge amount
Which
of
is a lot
people.
better than we have been as an industry for a while. One of our issues as an industry, and someone quoted me the figures the other day, and how accurate they are, I don't really know, but they're telling me there's the same number of vegans in the UK as there are gun licence holders.
I can believe that.
Now, if that's right, who do you hear? Who's got the loudest voice? Who shouts?
Well, I don't know, for years and years and years, everybody in the shooting industry, whether that be game, hunters, target sports shooters, everybody goes, oh, just be quiet, they'll leave us alone.
Yeah.
Which is the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. Nobody listens to quiet people.
We have still doing it to an extent. You hear people saying, I can't possibly say at work what I do in my spare time. I hear that all the time. And it's like, I understand why. People don't want to go to work and get into conflict. But there's a problem if we always do that.
You shouldn't be ashamed of who you are.
If you are hunting and shooting ethically,
Yes.
legally and ethically, you should be happy and proud to stand up and say it.
Yeah. You're providing meat for your family in a
I mean, it's
more whole circle way.
my sort of fairly well known by some drunken comment on one or two occasions is you're a hypocrite that hires a hitman to kill your food for you. I know where most of the meat in my freezer comes from. I know how it lived. I know how it died.
Yeah. Well, probably you don't know how it lived for some portion.
Well, yeah, okay, but yeah, I mean, you know if you've gone and harvested a deer,
Or you
know where it's come from.
It's lived a good life. It's been wild its whole life. It's
so I mean, game
as happy as
shooting.
an animal could be if animals could be happy in our conventional sense.
Yeah. Game shooting, bird shooting, the changes in that time, availability of it, cost,
The commercialisation,
commercialisation of it.
dangerous-ish subject, but a very quick answer, if you will, on this one. How do you feel about
that? This is where one comes into conflict with one's industry and business if you're not careful. It would be lovely not to be. I wouldn't have a business if it wasn't.
Yes. No. This is it. So there's massive conflict of interest. You have to put maybe, I don't think there's morally object. You've said to me a few times, and you put it very well, of it doesn't matter whether you're shooting 400 birds in one day or 100 birds over 4 days.
Yeah.
Because your personal consumption of pheasants is going to be one or the other.
Yeah. I mean,
As long as you can justify it, it's fine.
People saying a bag of a certain size is too big or too small or whatever it is,
Whatever, how many guns?
is virtually impossible. And you get someone say, oh, I only liked 100 bird days, and you say, well, do you think...
How many did you shoot?
Do you think that 5 birds a drive, 5 good birds a drive would be too many? And they go, they're good birds. No, that's fine. So you're okay. Well, you've just described to me 8 guns, 5 drives, 200 bird day.
Yeah.
Oh. How about 7 birds a drive? Well, if they're really good, okay, you've just described to me a 300 bird.
Yeah.
And
Now,
so
but 10
it
guns
goes.
in that line.
Yeah. So putting
It's
a
extremely
number on
subjective.
anything is difficult.
Do you see that in the future?
I think
Release limits or some such?
it's going to take a cleverer man than me to work out what the way forward is. Yeah, I mean, we've got to promote the consumption of game.
If there's a market for the finished product, nobody's going to question the way that it gets put to market.
It makes it far more justifiable, and it makes it much easier to stand there and be proud of what you're doing. Now, we've all heard the stories about game being dumped and game being burnt and all the rest of it. I personally have not come across it.
I would counter the argument as opposed to argue with it, although I'm with you that I've never seen anything other than waste being got rid of.
No.
But have you ever been binning?
I can't say I have.
Do you know what binning is?
No. I'm too young.
So there was this bird I knew for actually no, I never went to university, unfortunately. Not as clever as you. And she used to go binning. So they would break in to the bins at Co-op.
Right.
Go through the bins and get all of the meat that was thrown away,
Yeah.
produce that was thrown away,
Yeah.
and we're talking a next level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Enormous. And then you
Hundreds of
multiply
pounds
that
worth
up
of meat.
across the country, all the supermarkets.
And this was a small co-op.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you now. Yeah.
This is my argument,
Yeah.
is that, yes, if we throw away the waste product, that's wrong. If we don't take legs off of all the pheasants, it's probably not that right. However, don't come to me that these chickens, pigs, things are farmed, produced, packeted, transported. There's thousands of pounds spent from the moment they get killed all the way through to they're advertised and then binned. That's a waste.
Oh yeah.
Any waste is bad waste. You know, I'm not going to say, well, they're bad and we're better. It's all bad, but please don't pick on me because I shoot with a gun.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. That we need to work on it as an industry,
Yeah.
though. Somehow, whether BGA is the way forward, whether there's something we haven't come up with yet, it's the way forward. There's been people putting ideas forwards about numbers of birds per acre you should be allowed to release and all the rest of it. Another one of my bet noirs, and it turns out I have several. Not that I'm a
At your age,
yeah. I would like to see it made illegal to release birds after the 1st of September.
Oh, 100%.
As opposed to against the code of good practice.
Yeah, I mean,
We all
from
know-
sporting conduct.
I won't touch shoots that do it. I know there are a number of shoots that do it. I'm no names, no pact or anything else. There are shoots that do it. If that was made illegal, we would remove quite a lot of birds from the marketplace.
Yeah, all of the super shoots, if you like, the super commercial shoots,
All the hyper commercial shoots who are topping up on a regular basis
would not be able to.
would not be able
And as
to.
such, they wouldn't be able to maintain the quantity of birds that they kill, which would
Precisely.
be
And
more
that would be no bad thing.
reasonable. No, I'm with you on that.
Financially, supply and demand, yeah, the price might go up. But that might then lead people doing smaller days.
Yeah, you see,
That might lead to more sustainability. I mean, it would have a knock on, but the biggest thing it would do would show that we were policing ourselves as an
we
industry.
genuinely care.
Yeah.
We genuinely care.
Whereas with some of the shoots as they are at the moment, knowing they're there, it's very hard to stand there with a hand on heart and a very clear conscience saying what a marvellous, perfect industry we are.
Yes, the problem being that you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah.
And-
Knowing
yeah.
what goes on. So let's clean our house up.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
We've got the birds of prey issue. That isn't half as big an issue, I don't think, as the RSPB would like to make it out
No,
to be.
but as soon as one
Yorkshire.
disappears, they pin it on us.
However,
100%.
let's
It
name and
happens.
shame the shoots that do it.
Yeah, 100%, and throw them under the bus accordingly because it is bad.
It is wrong. I
It's
mean,
the wrong
we
way
live
to
in
go
we live in
about
an
it.
age now when we all have to apply by the law.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
you can't hide. No. And we are walking. It's not thin ice as such, but people watch everything we do, and we are controversial, as uncontroversial as hunting is in reality.
Yeah.
People find it a controversial subject, so we can't be seen to be being extra
So
controversial.
let's keep our industry clean, or clean our industry. I'm afraid, and I'm afraid there are some mucky corners.
It does sound like you're running for president with that kind of thing. Let's clean up this industry.
Shooting great again. Yeah, I haven't got enough hair for that.
You can get cats.
I need a hat and some tan. Second one was deer stalking. Deer stalking has changed beyond all recognition.
Yeah. So what was deer stalking like when you first got into
When
it?
I first got into door stalking, when I first got into deer stalking, I was in my, I was 18, 19 years old, and basically I went from, oh, I'm going to buy a rifle and go shoot some deer.
What was your first rifle?
CZ,
Oh, nice.
243.
Very classy. No moderator?
No moderator, no. And I went from, I bought the rifle and I was working as on a farm, and I shot a few fallow on the farm, and before I knew it, every farmer within God knows how many miles was on the phone to me saying, come and shoot his deer. And I ended up shooting 100, 150 deer a year.
As a side hobby?
As fun, and it wasn't after a while. And I mean, deer stalking, literally, there was nothing like it is now. There was nothing like the numbers of people doing it. You literally, if you shot deer, every farm would be phoning you to say, please come and shoot my deer. I grew up in Sussex where there were a lot of fallow.
Yeah.
And I mean, roe we saw occasionally, but not very often. But yeah, you'd be pestered to come, please come and shoot, please come and shoot. Now, obviously, well, we look at taking on areas of ground for client stalking and what have you.
The farmer would like the
money involved, everything involved, is so much more difficult.
Why do you think that is?
It's become popular. It's become, I mean, a lot of these, I think, these sort of kill it, cook it, eat it type shows.
Yeah. It's no different to wanting to go and shoot a couple of pheasants for the pot.
No, except it is something, it is very sustainable if you do it right. It's very ethical.
Yeah.
It's great meat.
Yeah, and there's a decent amount of it.
You get a lot of it for not much effort.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about not much effort.
Well, no, but I mean, compared to getting the same kilos of pheasant meat.
Yeah.
And it breeds naturally. It needs to be controlled.
It is a pest species. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you add all those things together, and it's logical. It should have increased. I think deer numbers. Now, very mixed opinions from people on what deer numbers are doing.
What do you think?
I can tell you on the areas that I know.
Okay.
I can't tell you nationally or what have you. We are seeing
local forecast then.
Yeah, local forecast. We are seeing fallow numbers going up.
Yeah.
Roe numbers, I would say, have stayed for the last 15, 20 years about the same, but that's probably due to us.
Yeah.
Muntjac have increased, but nothing like the numbers that people thought they were going to.
Yeah. Well, I think they've been spreading more than anything, so they don't like density when they've got a whole country that they can go to.
Yeah.
And they are.
So, I mean, I would say numbers are going up slowly, but I think there's a lot of fear and talk about numbers being shot and what have you. And you talk to some of the older boys who've been stalking forever, and they're actually saying, we've had herds that size and bigger herds than that around for years.
It's fluctuated over 5 or 6, 10, 20 years.
You get a bad breeding season, and for a couple of years your numbers may go down, then they'll peak again, and
we're used to things being very instantaneous nowadays, and something I think I find absolutely funny. People go, I need it now, or oh, this has happened in the last 3 months ago. Yeah, but for example, one chap who's like, he goes, all the roe have gone. I'm like, have they? Yeah, I've been shooting the same amount for the last how many years, but this year they've gone. You go, okay. They've been there for hundreds of years. I mean, they've disappeared some time ago and we introduced them, but it's unlikely that the roe are going to die out overnight.
Well, I mean, classic example, look at here. You came out the end of last year, we didn't see a boar.
No.
If you'd have gone on that, you'd go, the boar numbers are down. Last night you shot a lot.
We did shoot a few. Yeah.
If you'd have done that, if you'd have done it based on that, the bill numbers are up again.
Yeah,
but actually, the reality is what's happened with the boar numbers is totally irrelevant to what you've seen.
And they're no different to us. They could walk 20 miles in a day, and 20 miles line of sight is a long way.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's pot luck on a state like this. There's lots of broken ground, there's lots of little gullies and valleys. They walk up, they could be walking very near to you.
Yeah, and
it's still completely out of sight.
It's illegal to shoot at night, so when they come out for the most part, you just can't see.
So, I mean, it's an awful lot of talk about deer numbers and statistics on populations and what have you. I've yet to had it proved to me that they're going up at the speed that people seem to say, some people say they are. I think they are probably going up slowly, but nothing like some of the doom merchants would have us believe.
Yeah, I think, again, people get very excited about these things.
I think it's wishful thinking on some people's behalf.
Yeah.
Deer numbers go, I gotta go shoot some more.
Yeah, a fallow are coming near me, fallow are going to come over the ground now.
Yeah. Or it's people, I mean, the classic line is moving back off deer onto game birds. I mean, we were shooting grouse a few years ago up in Yorkshire on a walk-up day, and the keeper said, he remembers when he first took on the ground, one of the old boys said, I remember when we used to feed on a cold winter, we'd feed the grouse crushed oaks down by Ilkley. And the keeper's like, yeah, whatever. And he said he ended up having to phone him that year because it got so cold and the grouse all disappeared. And he was like, what was it you were feeding them? Where were you feeding them?
Yeah. And they'd eat that, would they?
And they were apparently, the grouse had all gone down to lower ground and they were actually feeding crushed oat to the grouse. When it got cold enough, they'd eat not anything, but they were less fussy.
It's got protein and carbohydrates and energy in it. It's got energy, they're going to eat it.
And it was going back to the old boys who'd seen it all in the past. I think a lot of these things we talk about with population fluctuations and movements and everything
we all think everything's brand new to us.
And there's nothing new on heaven and earth, I'm afraid.
That's depressing.
When it comes to wildlife.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, it's been around a long time before we were.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are here now managing it and have been for a very long time. We have to manage it for our own needs and the times that we live in.
I mean, it's the old line, the old saying of natural balance had gone before the term was thought of.
Yeah.
Apex predators all gone, this is gone, that's gone. So you can't just rely now on natural balance, which, going back enough years, you would have been able to.
Many.
Oh, I mean, I'm talking a long time now, not last week.
What did the Romans ever do to us?
Oh, yeah.
Brought pheasants? They bring pheasants?
Fallow deer, rabbits, carp.
Happy days. Good boys.
Bless them.
Yeah. Life wouldn't be great without them, to be fair, would it? So before we finish, we've got some really uninteresting questions, but they're kind of interesting.
I'll probably have some really boring answers for them as well.
Favourite calibre of rifle?
Oh, 243.
Why?
I like it.
Okay. Is there anything it can't do?
Bore. Wild boar.
Okay. But you're on a 308 for that.
I have a 308 and a 243. 243 for me as a southern stalking rifle, there's nothing I can't do with it.
No.
And it is easy to get. I mean, ammo for, everything about it's easy.
Okay. That's literally the only question I wanted to ask.
That was a very simple question.
It's the same answer that every professional stalker says, or every professional says 243. And I don't know why I like compounding the thing that 243 is one of the best calibers out there. Often it's just a little bit boring. Like the question.
Hyper boring, that's why we buy it.
Yeah. It's available everywhere.
Because it does the job and it's easy.
Yeah. Have you ever shot a rifle out?
I have made the mistake of crowning rifles by not removing moderators. Guilty.
Do you maintain your gear at all, or are you more
badly.
of a use it, kill it, buy a new one sort of?
Shotguns I tend to clean.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Rifles I'm a real bad person about.
Yeah.
If it's wet, I'll wipe it down.
You shot, I presume, some big animals.
Big, yeah.
Trophy-wise, or you're not really a trophy guy?
I mean, I've been lucky. I've shot trophies along the way. I don't think I've ever gone out to shoot a trophy anything. I've been out where we've been out on a piece of ground where they've got issue. I mean, the biggest roebuck I ever shot was a roebuck that was causing problems in a partridge drive.
Wow. And so you just went to the crop.
And the keeper said, can you take that buck out?
Yeah. He's made that crop his home.
Yeah. He's made that crop his home. He's spending his life in there. He's going to cause problems this season. He did last season. He's still there this season, or it will be this season coming. He needs shooting. It was a piece of ground that I shoot for myself and don't take clients on.
You still do that though?
I still have the occasional bit of ground I go shoot on myself, yeah, for the freezer.
Yeah.
And he was a nice gold medal buck.
Nice. Handy when they become a nuisance.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but someone had to do it.
Yeah.
I've shot some good mouflon in Spain. For a similar reason, they had a mouflon cull on. Shot some medal mouflon because they wanted them shot. Personally, here you go. End of it all. Trophy stalking. I hate the term trophy hunting.
Trophy is the meat and the experience. No.
No, trophy. I mean, trophy. You send a kid out ferreting, and a trophy is a rabbit's tail.
Yeah.
You send a multi-millionaire American out stalking, and a trophy is, God help us, Cecil the lion.
Yeah.
A trophy is a memento.
Yeah.
It's not. It shouldn't be about antler size or anything else. And therefore, I just think it's a very, very bad term to use. It's a generic term. It doesn't mean anything, really.
No, but it's a nice thing to pin on people, right?
If you want to slap them down, you can always hit them a trophy, yeah.
Right, thank you very much. Guys, if you're interested in going out with Howard, it is
outsidedays.com.
There you go, and it's as simple as that. I really can't recommend anyone else to look after you like he would. Thank you.
Thanks,
much,
John.
mate.
Good to speak to you.
And we'll see you soon.
Take care, mate.
Like in a minute.
Bye.
Like right now for a beer.